Hello, my name is Brian. Today I want to give you a quick tour of my 1966 Land Rover Series 2A 109 wagon. This car was initially delivered in April 1966 in Los Angeles and has been in the United States most of its life except for a brief period, which I'll get into in a little bit. It had a 2.5 liter inline six engine with a 4-speed transmission, and these are actually the original colors it came in. I've obviously repainted it, but it was pastel green with limestone accents. So to give a quick little tour of the car, we've got I've done a full complete restoration, so it does have a new frame that needed to be replaced. All the body panels have been taken off and repainted on both sides with refinishing. It's basically a completely rebuilt vehicle at this point. This car, like I said, it was initially delivered in California in 1966, and I have from the original bumper, original back part of the frame, I do have a parking permit from UC San Diego from 1974. But beyond that, I really don't have a lot of history on where this car was and what it did before I ended up with it. However, one thing that's very interesting is this car was actually in a movie. This was in Delta Force 2 with Chuck Norris. And in the movie, it was driven by the Colombians, the bad guys. The movie was filmed in the Philippines in the early 90s. And so you can actually go watch the movie, and I'll put some pictures inside the video here, kind of showing what it looked like during the movie so you can pick it out. But what they had done during the movie is they painted it kind of a camo green gray color. They'd taken the top off, and then they did some more extensive modifications. So one thing they had done was put a Chevy 350 engine in there hooked up to the Muncie 4-speed, going through the original transfer case and axles. So when they did that, it was a pretty sloppy job that they did, but anyways, apparently it was successful for the movie. And then another thing they had done is put a roll cage in the car. So unfortunately the roll cage became its undoing, because when they put the roll cage in, they literally just torched holes in the aluminum floor bed and through the bulkhead to weld in the roll cage. And when they did that, they basically ruined a lot of the metal, and then that just led to rust later. Also in the movie, you'll see that in one of the later scenes, it's actually crashed through a burning barrier. And when it did that, it actually bent part of the frame in the front. So that kind of led to me, when I bought the car in 2017, I took it apart and realized that effectively the entire chassis had to be replaced. It was unsalvageable. The bulkhead had to be replaced because it was rusted and welded through. And so, basically I was able to salvage the transmission, the transfer case, and the axles, drive shafts, all the body panels. But I did need to commission a new frame, which I did through a company in the UK that built one and shipped it over for me. Also had to replace the bulkhead, and so that is a refurbished bulkhead that I also shipped over from the UK. And then the other things were the T-posts, or the B-pillars. They also had to be replaced because the other ones were completely rotted out and unsalvageable. But it seems like, yeah, it's a completely different car than it was. It may be part of the case, but the body panels and the axles and the things like that I was able to keep from the old car. So when I first got the car, there was a couple things I really wanted to do. One is I wanted to kind of keep it looking as close to original from the outside as possible. I did put on the Defender Nerf bars on the side just for impact protection, because I do live in a world where cars are stronger and heavier than the ones that were from the 60s, so I didn't want to destroy the car if someone rear or sideswiped me. But I did try to keep the interior as clean and consistent as much as possible. So I kind of built my own door panels because those were completely rotted out. I did I have different seats in here. I did keep the original pedal cluster, or switched to a Defender pedal cluster actually. But the windshield wiper motor is original. The steering column is a generic GM hot rod style aftermarket universal steering column. The gauge cluster, the gauges were kind of unusable that I had, so I bought a bunch of Smith's gauges to run it. And so all the gauges do work, the temperature gauge, and all those things. I also put in a little Bluetooth amplifier, so kind of tied it into the original panel. So that's what this is over here with some USB power. I also noticed I have air conditioning in the car, so I do have air conditioning and heating system that's tied in. And this actually works really, really well. It came out of a 50s Ford pickup design, and I just painted it to match the rest of the body. You'll probably notice that the transmission tunnel is different from stock, and that is because when I bought the car, it had the V8 in it. They had cut up all the original metal here to fit the shifter lever and such. So when I decided to build the car my way, I wanted to stick with the V8 because I thought that was what Chuck would want. And so this does have a 2012 LC9 LS engine out of a 2012 Chevy Silverado. And as part of that, to kind of fit everything, I kind of had to fabricate my own transmission tunnel. So I tried to do my best to make it look similar to stock, but also give myself enough space to do everything. So I had to build my own shifter levers and do everything. So we have transfer case, we have four-wheel drive, and then you pull this up, and it's the heater. So it opens up the heater valve, and then of course the Hurst shifter for the Muncie transmission. But these seats are adjustable. They recline and can move forward and backwards. Eventually I do want to put a headliner back in the car, but I don't have all the bits to do that, the bows and such, so I just painted the roof as it is for now. Back seat, again, I made my own door cards, created all this myself. The flooring is actually from a company called C-Deck, and they make kind of foam flooring for boats. So I had a boat that had this stuff in it. I really liked it, so I contacted the manufacturer and gave them my dimensions, and so they custom made C-Deck mats for me. This is the original rear seat. I do want to eventually recover this in the same vinyl that the rest of the car in, because I do have a bunch of that left. This one does also have the Safari vents, but those are really hard to find, and I only have 2.5 that are usable. The other one is completely rotted out, so I got to find some of those. Coming around to the back, one of the things that the cars would have initially had, all these panels here would have been galvanized, and unfortunately they were pretty bad shape when I bought it, when I had the car. So in galvanizing, where I restored the car in Texas mostly, and it was really hard to find a galvanizer that could do those kind of small projects. So for time and money efficiency, I decided to just go ahead and paint them the same color as the rest of the car. The ladder and the roof rack are my own design, so I just bent tubing to make that. And with the roof rack, my goal was, because it's a California car, I kind of wanted to kind of give it the beach roof rack vibe. So kind of use the curves like you might find on a Volkswagen bus roof rack, and then the metal slats to kind of give it that surfer vibe a little bit. Open up the back here. You can see that the same stuff in the back. I've got a big C-Deck mat back here. Everything's nicely finished. And then, even the little storage bin has been completely painted and cleaned up as well. So every piece of sheet metal, or every piece of surface in this car has been completely painted. Pretty much every fastener has been replaced as well. On the back of the door panel, everything fits in nicely. So then coming around to this side, we can now see the passenger side again. I was kind of afraid that the air conditioning and the heater system would have take a lot of floor space, but it actually gives passengers have enough room to work back here. Now I'm going to take you on a little tour of the engine bay, because that's where the really interesting stuff starts happening on this car. So I'm going to pop open the hood. Just take two hands. There we go. There we go. So here we go. Here's the LC9 engine, and you can light's kind of weird, but so this is, like I said, a 2012 LC9, had about 80,000 miles on it. I did rebuild it to remove some of the emissions features and efficiency features this engine had on it. It's got an Edelbrock ProFlow 4 fuel injection system on it, and then everything I tried to make it as easy to drive as possible. So we have power steering, we have power brakes. Everything's used. I'm using a GM Hydro Boost setup for the steering as well as for the brakes. For the electrical system, I used a universal fuse box and wiring system from American Auto Wire, and then tied that in with the fuel injection control module, as well as some relays I set up for running lights and various other functions. But the other part of this build that was interesting is that I needed to be able to remove the bulkhead. So all the wiring going into the front of to the gauges and stuff are going through these connectors here. So basically I can disconnect these these silver connectors, and all the wiring going into the dash is now removed. So it actually makes it relatively easy if I ever need to disassemble the car. I don't have to run wiring through holes and such. Here you can see I've got it's got electric fan sandwiched in between the condenser and the radiator. Here's the air conditioning pieces. So actually works really well. I have no issues with overheating or with cooling. The brakes work great. The power steering works great. All those areas have been really, really surprisingly well sorted and working well. Kind of going underneath the car. It's going to be a little bit hard to see, but you can see the stock axles. Again, I do have 4-wheel disc brakes from a company in the Netherlands called Hasty, and they build a kit to use Defender brakes. And then on the side here, we can kind of see as well, I do have some panels I'm going to put on there eventually, but I can see the P38 power steering box, and then all the connections for the steering as well as for the throttle and such. Everything is actually serviceable. I can reach all the spark plugs, and bleed the clutch, bleed the brakes. Anything I need to do is pretty easy to do underneath the car, because I do care about the environment. I have a catalytic converter in here, and a muffler. So we built a stainless steel exhaust system for the car. Coming around to the back, you can see it's nice and clean underneath here as well. When I had the chassis commissioned, I actually had it built as one of the military's MOD versions. So it does have, it can be higher, and so I actually have it on its highest point right now. And then it has a few more gussets for strength, and then I also had them put in the mount for the P38 steering box. Coming along underneath here, again, very simple. I got the battery tucked in underneath, and then the fuel filter is right up kind of near where the battery is as well. But it does have like I said, it's using a Muncie M21 4-speed, and then an Ashcroft high ratio transfer case. All right, I'm going to be taking you on a test drive of Dr. Jones. It's all pretty straightforward. So it's because of fuel injection, I don't have to do anything. Just going to start it up. There we go. All up and running. Let's take here. Signal, got little blinky lights. Everything's super easy to drive. Power steering's great. Brakes are really good. Acceleration's good. Actually relatively comfortable for being so tall and unruly. The seating position's a little awkward, but I don't really know what it was supposed to be, so it works well for me, and especially having the power steering, I don't have to have a lot of effort. All right, thanks for taking the tour of Dr. Jones with me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down below in the comment section, and I will try to remember to look at them, that they're there. So anyways, thanks very much. Hope you have a great day.